The CoDA Communications Committee is pleased to announce this series of explainer videos made for YouTube. Although there are many videos about codependence on this channel, there is only one CoDA, and so that is where we begin. What is CoDA? An introduction to Codependence Anonymous. Codependence Anonymous is a fellowship of people whose common purpose is to develop healthy relationships. The only requirement for membership is a desire for healthy and loving relationships. We gather together to support and share with each other in the journey of self-discovery, learning to love the self. Living the program allows each of us to become increasingly honest with ourselves about our personal histories and our own codependent behaviors. We rely upon the 12 steps and 12 traditions for knowledge and wisdom. These are the principles of our program and guides to developing honest and fulfilling relationships with ourselves and others. In CoDA, we each learn to build a bridge to a higher power of our own understanding, and we allow others the same privilege. This renewal process is a gift of healing for us. By actively working the program of Codependence Anonymous, we can each realize a new joy, acceptance, and serenity in our lives. What is codependence? Many of us struggle with the question, what is codependence? Am I codependent? We want a precise definition and diagnostic criteria before we decide. As stated in our 8th tradition, Codependence Anonymous is a non-professional fellowship. We offer no definition or diagnostic criteria for codependence. What we do offer from our experience are characteristic attitudes and behaviors that describe what our codependent histories have been like. We believe that recovery begins with an honest self-diagnosis. We come to accept our inability to maintain healthy and nurturing relationships with ourselves and others. We begin to recognize that the cause lies in long-standing destructive patterns of living. Although I did not relate to all these patterns and characteristics, they helped me realize that I am codependent, and it started me on my journey of self-discovery. The patterns and characteristics of codependence are offered as a tool to aid in self-evaluation. These may be particularly helpful to newcomers. Denial patterns. I will read codependence often and finish each sentence with the bullet point. Codependents often have difficulty identifying what they are feeling. Codependents often minimize, alter, or deny how they truly feel. Codependents often perceive themselves as completely unselfish and dedicated to the well-being of others. Codependents often lack empathy for the feelings and needs of others. Codependents often label others with their negative traits. Codependents often think they can take care of themselves without any help from others. Codependents often mask pain in various ways, such as anger, humor, or isolation. Codependents often express negativity or aggression in indirect and passive ways. Codependents often do not recognize the unavailability of those people to whom they are attracted. Low self-esteem patterns. Codependents often have difficulty making decisions. Codependents often judge what they think, say, or do harshly as never good enough. Codependents often are embarrassed to receive recognition, praise, or gifts. Codependents often value others' approval of their thinking, feeling, and behavior over their own. Codependents often do not perceive themselves as lovable or worthwhile persons. Codependents often seek recognition, praise to overcome feeling less than. Codependents often have difficulty admitting mistakes. Codependents often need to appear to be right in the eyes of others and may even lie to look good. Codependents often are unable to identify or ask for what they need and want. Codependents often perceive themselves as superior to others. Codependents often look to others to provide their sense of safety. Codependents often have difficulty getting started, meeting deadlines, and completing projects. Codependents often have trouble setting healthy priorities and boundaries. Compliance patterns. Codependents often are extremely loyal, remaining in harmful situations too long. Codependents often compromise their own values and integrity to avoid rejection or anger. Codependents often put aside their own interest in order to do what others want. Codependents often are hypervigilant regarding the feelings of others and take on those feelings. Codependents often are afraid to express their beliefs, opinions, and feelings when they differ from those of others. Codependents often accept sexual attention when they want love. Codependents often make decisions without regard to the consequences. Codependents often give up their truth to gain the approval of others or to avoid change. Control patterns. Codependents often believe people are incapable of taking care of themselves. Codependents often attempt to convince others what to think, do, or feel. Codependents often freely offer advice and direction without being asked. Codependents often become resentful when others decline their help or reject their advice. Codependents often lavish gifts and favors on those they want to influence. Codependents often use sexual attention to gain approval and acceptance. Codependents often have to feel needed in order to have a relationship with others. Codependents often demand that their needs be met by others. Codependents often use charm and charisma to convince others of their capacity to be caring and compassionate. Codependents often use blame and shame to exploit others emotionally. Codependents often refuse to cooperate, compromise, or negotiate. Codependents often adopt an attitude of indifference, helplessness, authority, or rage to manipulate outcomes. Codependents often use recovery jargon in an attempt to control the behavior of others. Codependents often pretend to agree with others to get what they want. Avoidance patterns. Codependents often act in ways that invite others to reject, shame, or express anger towards them. Codependents often judge harshly what others think, say, or do. Codependents often avoid emotional, physical, or sexual intimacy as a way to maintain distance. Codependents often allow addictions to people, places, and things to distract them from achieving intimacy in relationships. Codependents often use indirect or evasive communication to avoid conflict or confrontation. Codependents often diminish their capacity to have healthy relationships by declining to use the tools of recovery. Codependents often suppress their feelings or needs to avoid feeling vulnerable. Codependents often pull people towards them, but when others get close, push them away. Codependents often refuse to give up their self-will to avoid surrendering to a power greater than themselves. Codependents often believe that displays of emotion are a sign of weakness. Codependents often withhold expressions of appreciation. All questions and comments should be directed to the Communications Committee at abm@coda.org. All materials used are CoDA conference approved. All materials used in this series are available at coda.org and or corepublications.org. Thank you for tuning in, and please subscribe to the World CoDA YouTube channel at the link below. This broadcast is the property of Codependence Anonymous. Any reproduction without permission from Codependence Anonymous is not permitted.